the band. You all right back there, Ron? All right. The band featuring Patrick McCarthy and Miss Aisha Johnson. Lordy. That was wonderful. It really was wonderful. Yeah. So let's just take a moment before we go any further to greet each other, to engage in a little bit of humanness, humanity. Please go tell somebody hi, give them a hug, tell them that they matter, their life matters.
How you?
You matter. Love you. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Yeah. So this morning we are dealing with change as we have been all year. And our theme for the month is Change the Future. The principles I'll be working with today is principle number 8. We believe in the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. Principle number 10, we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. And principle number 11, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. We say, change your thinking, change your life. I think it could also be said, change your thinking and you will change. Change your thinking and you will change. The life that we're talking about is you. Change your thinking and you will change. It's the essence of the teaching. It's inherent in the teaching, this change. I wanted to start out by reading something from Howard Thurman from Deep is the Hunger on page 90 in the book. It was a beautiful little garden just outside the dining room window with the simplicity characteristic of him. My friend gave me the names and explained the habits of life of various plants growing there. I was struck by what was said about a little bush which grew near the steps. Quote, this plant is called Daphne. It is not doing well here because it is too comfortable situated. It is too comfortably situated. The soil is too rich and it gets too much protection. This plant tends to go to wood and leaves with the very, very poor blossoms if it is placed where it does not have to struggle. The aim of all plants is to reproduce themselves by making seeds. Poor soil challenges this particular plant, making it conserve its strength and concentrate it on the main business, the production of blossoms, which in turn becomes seeds, the guarantee of the perpetuation of its kind. Then the silence fell while my mind took wings. An easy life devoid of challenge, too much protection, scatters the energy, dissipates the resources, works against singleness of mind, without which there can be no real fulfillment. Most of us do not voluntarily seek the difficult thing, the hard job, or the stubborn task. There are some people who are born with such singleness of mind that instinctively they gravitate toward the tough assignments. There are always those to whom we turn automatically if there is something to be done that requires unusual courage, patience, or concentrated effort. These persons, by their temperaments and will to do, contribute deeply to our own delinquency and weakness. There are those who are affiliated with a morbid sense of martyrdom and who seem perpetually to be atoning for some hidden sin by volunteering to do the unpleasant thing, by taking upon themselves responsibilities which in the end merely deepen their own sense of guilt or self-mortification. It is wisdom so to understand oneself that one will not accept the role within one's range of choices that causes one to, quote, go to wood and leaves. We are not like the Daphne plant. Sometimes within our very wide limits, often within extremely narrow limits, we have the privilege of choice. Some things we know contribute to our weaknesses, to our tendency to grow flabby and soft, and some things we know toughen our fiber and cause us to pool all our resources in the effort to achieve single-mindedness of purpose and of of single-mindedness of purpose and of will. Wood and leaves, or the blossom of fulfillment. Which? Choose. Change the future. He also says this. He says that it is true. He says it is truth recognized over and over again in various guises that the key to the meaning of life is found deep within each one of us. Let me read that again. It is truth recognized over and over again in various guises that the key to the meaning of life is found deep within each one of us. Change the future. The great Lauryn Hill, in her song, The Lost Ones, says, consequence, no coincidence. Consequence, no coincidence. Ernest Holmes says that there is a power for good in the universe and that we can use it. If that is true, and in this teaching we do believe that it's true, then why is it that some of us spend the majority of our time operating against ourselves? Ernest Holmes says that in our ignorance, we have not only operated against ourselves, but have contradicted the supremacy of God. We have denied ourselves the privilege of working with the power that put us here, the power that's ours to use. The definition of consequence is a conclusion derived through logic, something produced by a cause. The definition of coincidence, the occurrence of events that happen at the same time by accident, but seem to have a connection. One is a way of looking at things, and one is a way of looking into things. One is a way of looking at things, and one affords us the opportunity to look into things. But we go through our lives mostly waiting for something to happen. That's looking at something. That's coincidental. Most of our lives we go through waiting for something to happen that will change things, that will change the future. Waiting for something to happen that'll change something, that'll change the future. Coincidence. Instead of going through life causing, as the great Joe Dispenza would say, causing an effect, causing something to happen. It's called consequence. That's a consequence when we are causing something to happen. Operating from, most of us are operating from the outside instead of operating from the inside. Operating from the outside instead of operating from the inside. And if we have been operating from the outside, then you can rest assured in knowing that things are only going to change on the outside. If we've been operating only from the outside, then we can be sure that things are only going to change on the outside. But it's time that we expand our consciousness to hold a new idea, a grand idea. And in this teaching, a lot of times we use the analogy of the seed and the soil. And we talk about the seed as our thought being placed into the soil that gives form to whatever it is that we desire. Well, did you know that there are hundreds of seed banks in the world? And that these seed banks hold hundreds of thousands of seeds? And did you know that there are seed vaults that hold the seeds of the seed banks that has the potential of holding over 2 billion seeds? Possibilities, an expanded consciousness, changing our future. And did you know that there's 4 different types of soil? Some people say 3, some people say 4, some people say 5. The point is there's many different types of soil. And that some soil is rich in nutrients and some is not. Some soil has the ability to hold water and to pool water to feed into the seed becoming whatever it is that you've planted, and some not so much. So it's time that we become aware of the infinite possibility of the billions, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of seeds, of possibilities that's available to us. And then we become more conscious and aware of the soil that we're planting our seeds in. Change the future. And in the vault, the seeds that are housed there are only the original seeds. No duplicates. The original seeds. Change the future then. As I see it, it's time that we consider the possibilities that's at hand. That we really consider the possibilities that's at hand. So, as I see it then, and as I'm learning about change, change demands that you change. I like that one so much, I think you should tell your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and say, change demands that you change. Turn to your other neighbor and tell that neighbor, change demands that you change. That you change. That's right. And in Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says, the servant may become an heir. He says, how many of us claim our divine inheritance? How many of us realize that the will or the nature of God was written before the foundations of the physical universe were laid? And that in this will, each one of us was endowed with the faculty of true perception, bequeathed a life of perfection, and guaranteed immunity from all evil. For surely the will of God could be no less